You know, Don, he was a performance artist among many things, and one of the performances that he did out at UTSA was for his grandfather, and his grandfather was conductor for the B&O, and he did this really, this beautiful, beautiful performance, and he blew this train whistle. And so I just thought, let's just do one last swan song for Don, one last performance in his honor. So one of the things that Don also did, he loved wordplay, and he loved James Joyce and Marcel Duchamp, among the two great artists of the 20th century, mainly because they really did a lot of play with the English language. And so, and the humor and intelligence and everything. But anyway, I also love wordplay, and I've been doing posters for about 40 years. And so I brought a few of them down that I thought somehow related to Don. And so, and we did a lot of performances together with Norman and with Rudy and with Joe. We were all in Keep Flow Turtle together, but anyway, to start it off, this is one about Don and me. Did you hear the one about the two bald guys who put their heads together and made an ass of themselves? That was me and Don, definitely. Not really Norman and Rudy, because they have hair. So anyway, all aboard! Everybody enlighten up. Rudy, or Don would really want everyone to lighten up and enlighten up. Yep. All aboard! And of course, Don was a super bean, but he was a super ultra bean. And that was his band, Ultra. So we had to just make that in his honor, you know, because he was a super ultra being. Absolutely. So, all aboard! All aboard! Now, Don hated going to the doctor. He really did. So, this one, I figure, is really in his honor. Of course, my doctor asked for a urine sample, a stool sample, and a blood sample, so I gave him my underwear. And then he wanted a semen sample, so I gave him my sock. Oh, excuse me! Now, unfortunately, you know, we have lost Don physically, and in many ways, we have sort of entered the dark ages. Now, I made this poster back in 1990 when my good friend Keith Haring died, and there was an article about Keith Haring, and they said, "Welcome to the dark ages." So I thought, you know, so I made this for Keith. But it's very, very appropriate for Don as well, so I wanted to bring it back. So it's dark, but you know, there's still plenty of light. You know, he gave us so much light. So now this next poster. Next stop. This poster I made in 1986 when my son was born, my son Noah, and he was my world, and he's a boy, so it was blue world, but you know, blue bird of happiness, really. But now, you know, things things take on new meaning as time passes. So now when I look at this poster, it's Don, and he's left the world, and he kind of left us all a little blue, you know. But he also loved the blues, you know, and I learned a lot from Don. I learned the blues from Don. He introduced me to the Paul Butterfield Band, and I love Chicago blues, and I lived in Chicago for 5 years. So
George, you remember when we were in Chicago?
Oh yeah.
We went up and blew harp.
Blew harp with Junior Wells.
Junior Wells.
You know, so it's amazing. You know, Don was fearless. I would not have done that. Anyway, next stop. Well, this is very true.
Yep.
The best things in life aren't things. You know, they're not material things anyway. Although there's a lot of good shit out there. I have a lot of things, but really the best things in life aren't things. You know, and but that's definitely that's Don. You know, he was the best. He was the best, and he was the thing. You know, a sweet stick of thing. All right, so of course. Cut the drama, Mama. Don't be so sad, Dad. Don would not want that. You know, he really would not. You know, he would want us happy and rejoicing and making art and making music and continuing on in his legacy. You know, that's what we can do. That's the best way we can do to honor Don, is to just be creative beings, you know, and continue to make art. You know, continue doing these weird performances. Pour me another drink. In Don's honor, we can raise our toast, or raise our glasses to a toast, or our train whistles. You know? Don, we're gonna miss you, buddy. You know, we really are. But
Thanks, Don.
that's all right. You know, that's it. Take it easy, but take it. You know, that's all you can do. That's all you can do, because you never know, you know, what life's gonna hand you and when it's gonna come and kick you right in the stomach, you know. But all you can do is just take it easy, but take it, you know. Now, when we had Sonoma, Bongo Joe played with us one night, one opening. God, that was wild.
Because of my dad.
Yeah, because Bongo Joe used to go over there and used to cheat him fair, you know. And now Norman cheats everybody fair over there. You know? But I remember we always wanted to have. We loved Bongo Joe. We used to go down to the Alamo and see him. God, it was like, God, let's get Bongo Joe to play. And then Norman said, he knows my dad. My dad knows him. You know, so I don't know how we connected.
He was at the Walgreens, and he was buying diet pills. he had his little motorcycle scooter thing.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and concerned about his weight. Yeah. So anyway, we got Bongo Joe to play with us that night at the opening, and it was awesome.
And that's on the film.
Oh
that's
yeah.
On the film.
Oh yeah.
And the people are dancing, but he did stories that would make you cry.
Oh, and laugh and stuff like that. He was great. He would play at the jazz festival and stuff. He was incredible. Oh yeah, he was the furthest extension of the blues he was considered. Yes. You know, and he would pound on these oil drums and stuff. But anyway, after the opening, I had to take George Coleman. That's Bongo Joe's name. I had to take him home. And I drove him home, and he was really quiet and kind of sad. And I said, George, what's the matter? And he said, the party's over. Oh. Yeah, he said, the party's over. And I don't know why I should have fucking turned around and drove right back to Sonoma, but I didn't. One of the great regrets. But he was kind of scary, you know, a little bit. I mean, I loved him, but
He carried a machete.
He did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, but that's it. But somehow this seems, you know, he said the party's over, but the party's really not over. The party will never be over. Just because the party's not just starting. And this is Don. World, I love you. All is groovy. You know, and that's the 96th Street Bridge song. Slow down, you move too fast. Gotta take the morning light, dance, come down. All is groovy. But I don't know. That's it's just it makes me smile. It makes me laugh whenever I see that post, and I think of Don. You know, because the world is groovy. You know, with Don in it. And thank you. You've been a great audience. Good night. Last stop. This was Don's swan song, and what better way to end it than Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake? Thank you, George. I just want to say a little short story, and you'll remember this, and Norman, and number 2 dinners were playing at Leon Springs. It was at the fireman's thing. And what was the big old giant car that he used to drive? Monte Carlo? He had the Monte Carlo. We were at Hildebrand and Fredericksburg Road at the light, and he felt his door was a little ajar, and the light turned green, and he takes off, and he's grabbing the door to close the door. But if you're ever going east on Fredericksburg Road and Hildebrand, it kind of curves to the right. So the force of the door, and there was a big giant car, and the door probably weighed about 30-40 pounds.
It was a tank.
It was a tank. It was a tank. He grabbed the door swung open, and I'm sitting in the back seat behind him, and I look out the window, and I said, "Hey, there's Don in the street." Fellows on the passenger side.
Arm on the steering wheel.
And he had the arm on the steering wheel, so he tipped the wheel, and so we go through the parking lot of the HEB, and you were in the back seat with me, I think.
No,
it was just the 3 of us.
No.
It was just the 3 of us. Okay, so we just fellas in the passenger side. I'm in the back seat.
Star to prove it.
We hit the HEB, and so anyway, everyone was fairly okay. The car had to be towed, and I just want to say I called Leonard, and I said, "Leonard, you know, we're going to be late. We ran into the HEB." He said, "What did you want to do the HEB for?" "We got everything we need." I said, "No, we ran into the HEB. We had a wreck with the HEB." So anyway, I'll never forget that. That was so much. I mean, it was scary, but
The force was with us.
the force was with us. Everybody was fine, but
And one of the sisters from Los Padrinos happened to be there at that corner at the right time, and she's the one that called the EMS.
okay. And I don't remember
I
that.
do. It was all.
Because
You hit the back seat, and then you pushed the
Rudy
saw the cat.
You flew forward and on top of me.
yeah.
See,
I went forward into the windshield and busted up my knee on the glove box.
yeah. See, and
The show must go on.
And the show must go
The show
on.
did go on. We got there in plenty of time, did the concert, and it sounded great. Anyway, I just wanted to. I always. That was an amazing thing.
He called that day. He would call it stupid man's curve because
you don't come back from stupid man's curve. Won't walk back from stupid man's curve. All right, thank you. That's it. Real short and
when George was doing the whistle, Don Evans and Marilyn Lanphier and another, I can't remember her name. Anyway, they had their MFA, and they did it off campus. They didn't do it at UTSA. And he's getting a Master's of Fine Arts. Well, he had a suitcase, and I have all of this in slides. He had a suitcase, and an old suitcase, and then he put it in the room, and in this one room with nothing in there. And he opened up the suitcase, and he took out he made a train, a little toy train, and he put a train on there because his grandfather was like in the railroad.
Yeah, conductor B&O.
Conductor of B&O. And he puts on the clothing of his grandfather. And he took the train whistle, and he would go like this, and he would go, woo, and he would go like this. He was invoking his grandfather. And it was called Grandfather Piece. And I have these pictures and slides. And no, you haven't. All right, here, this guy from the golden age of,
Vaudeville.
The Time Machine.
Hi, my name's Chick. A lot of you know me as that.
Yeah.
Don was one of the few people that would always greet me as K. Charles, because that's my real name, is K. Charles. So through all these years and being 17 when I met him and meeting George and Norman and Joe and everybody at the Time Machine are associated with it, me being 17 and then being about 6 years older and having this whole calibration of this odd maturity, but this great fun of great spirit and consciousness, but also elevating me as a group of the metaphysic world, spiritual consciousness. And I know I was attached to it, but they sort of like solidified that I wasn't by myself. So while I read these words, in part they'll be a part of me performing an aspect of it, as magic is a set of beliefs and practices as the supernatural and the illusion of the art appearing in form. The Umo Vitruviano, which is the polymath of Leonardo da Vinci, representing the collective ideas about art, human anatomy, architecture, along with symmetry. Both circle and square with man at the center, as centuries would pass, the DNA and inputs of civilization would collectively input the knowledge of cultures, explorers, native footprints, and wildlife, along with organic earth to feed man, woman, child, and all creatures. Over time, each generation of birth would lend itself to the great sum of mankind. A new child would be born, and this seed would grow to morph into a new shape of intelligence and a knowledge pendulum to swing back and forth between centuries of earth. In our collective circle, we would come to meet Don Evans, AKA the Magic Man. Now, the thing about the Vesuvian Man being the polygram of Leonardo da Vinci was the square, the circle, and the pentagram, and the four appendages, and the fifth being the mind and the conscious of the soul. So the one thing I knew about Don is that while Don and all of us were like this as the core of Leonardo da Vinci, what Don became was the origami, and he began to contort. And the difference in his contortion coming out of the Vesuvian Man was that he would be the only origami, which is all angular, to become circular. He became a part of what Bruce Lee would say later on: things are not linear, things are fluid like water. And that's what Don was. He had broken Leonardo da Vinci's form of man in symmetry through the art and the agriculture and architecture and the cultures of being and consciousness. And this is where Don began to like morph into this space of this pendulum that had been swinging for centuries, and that we had all become a collective as time went on. So now he becomes this magic man. And each one of us would be amazed at the uncapped energy of Don's soul, smile, laughter, serious respect and knowledge, and the words and ideas you would exchange with him. No one was lesser than the sum of equal, being all of us who have known him, or have come to know him, or today may finally have met him. That is what's made our friendship with him and his friends a gift to our lives. This gift. Don has expanded for decades. Since the last century, slowly we've become quiet shamans of the 20th century. Because of his teachings, because of his willingness to educate us from every book that he ever read, every image of art that he drew or that he saw, every lyric that he wrote and sang, every poem and every friend he ever shared among us all. We have learned passion, growth of love, to share what we have with others, to cut the bullshit of others when we see darkness coming our way. And this we all know among each other, because that's why we're here, because none of us are part of that darkness. And we've shaken everything out, and we are all the energies that we are amongst each other. These are some of the absorptions from Don, the multiplier of good. We're all better people because of him. Fella, Cheryl, Norman, Dickie, all of you. He is in the Comanche world, the Atsabi, which is the spirit. He is the Ikawanai, which is the red-tailed hawk of Gila Bend. He is the Hisu, which is the spirit of the peyote. And he would tell me, like, if you have a time in your life and a period where you're looking for somebody else to be your mate, don't forget these lyrics from Magic Ring. So come on, baby, take me by the hand, and we can journey to another land. We can roll up on the earth and find out just what we're worth. And as two hearts, we can beat as one, and we can bang until we come. As we can turn into a bright, bright light, and we can hold it in the darkest night. I say, yeah. What a great pickup line. Thank you for that, Don. Anyways, thank you all very much. I'm so happy I got to share a little bit of that.